Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for
Hi.
taking time off to join our inaugural Creative at Works lunchtime session. I'm Jace from Creative at Works.
And I'm Ling. So, for those of you who don't know us, we are a media agency that provides matchmaking and project management services to our clients by providing access to our curated pool of freelancers. We have been in the freelancing space since 2012 and has since embarked on many training programs as well as original initiatives such as podcasts, our original content creation also in the recent years, and some of it includes live sessions such as this today.
So, undoubtedly, last year has been a challenging and hard year for many of us. But the good news is we have actually all left last year behind. And now is the beginning of a whole new year. So no matter how the previous year has played out, the new year always present opportunities for us to reframe and to reset, to convert our hopes and aspiration into accomplishments. Hence, it's a great time for us to figure out what's next. With this in mind, we have actually initiated this Creative at Work's lunchtime series, which we intend to roll out on a regular basis for this year for our community to come together and learn from one another how we can actually emerge stronger and better as creative freelancers of these times.
Yep, so today's session is very exciting. The format is relatively simple. We have invited 10 different guests to join us today to share with us for 5 minutes on their views with regards to all of them have the same topic. And for this inaugural session, Jace will be chatting with them on today's chosen topic on what are the key trends that will drive their creative works in 2021. So we have specially chosen 10 different guests who represent 10 different sectors within the creative industry so that we can have a wider perspective across different verticals as well as segments of the industry. So do stay tuned to listen to each and every one of them. Without further ado, Jace, would you like to introduce our first guest and I'll bring them on?
Yeah, bring him on. I think he has been waiting for a while.
Hi.
Hi, Ying
Hi,
Sheng.
Jay.
Good to
Hi.
see you. Thank you
Yep.
so much for joining us today.
Yep.
Yep. So Inshan is actually a experienced, right, up and coming local director, producers, and writer. We first got to know Inshan actually is through the Creative at Works digital campaign called Storeys, right? So for those who have been following our journey on Storeys, we actually select and work with 15 up and coming directors to produce short film that has a positive impact on the society. And Inshan has actually presented to us or brought to us a very wonderful story called Who Stole Tua Peh Gong. So since the release of the short film, I guess Insha, we have garnered more than actually 90,000 views even
And
within
probably
the
more.
first three
Probably
months.
more.
Yeah, so there's probably more now. So for those of you who hasn't catch Inshan's Who Stole Tua Peh Gong, right? Please, you can still view it from Stories website or even on our social media platforms. So you can actually check it out. So Huso Tua Peh Gong also is a finalist, right, in the Vixie Jury Award and also screened as part of Stay Home Shots December 2020 by the Singapore Arts Museum. So, so I urge all of you all to go and check it out, right, and actually catch the humorous side of Inshan in making this short film. Right. Thank you so much for joining us. So,
Yeah, welcome.
yeah, so now the next 5 minutes is actually for you to share with us what are some of the key trends that will actually drive your creative works in 2021.
Sure. So before that, if you after watching the short film, don't ask me where I can buy the Tua Peh Gong because it's not for sale. Someone did ask me that.
And
Okay.
actually, someone also thought that that prop set that you set up is real, right?
Yeah. So when we were filming there, people are actually praying at the altar gate. Even bought offerings like tau gua fruits to put on the altar. Then I was like asking the art director, "Do you do that?" They didn't know someone did. It was quite an interesting experience. Yeah. Okay, so I shall begin, right?
Yes.
Key trends that will drive my creative works in 2021. I had a thought about it. I broke it down into mainly 2 points. One is actually technology, because I think in the past 1 year, the adaptation to technology products have been faster than ever in the many past years. So I don't think this will slow down in the years to come. So it will definitely even pick up much faster. So for me, I would say I would be exploring creatively how to use technology products to merge with my field of work, which is telling stories, making films. Because I think as we move onwards in the year, technology in terms of storytelling becomes a new form of presentation. It could not just be a short film on the internet, movie in the cinemas. So it could be let's say interactive, which has been present, but it's not being actively used a lot yet. So these are various form of presentation for storytelling. And then another example I noted about technology is like theater plays in the past year. They actually use Zoom to engage audience when people can't go to theater physically. So these are examples of how technology I feel we can make use of it, because storytelling is still the same, but what's different is the way of presentation. So that's one main point that will drive my work in 2021. Second would be plugging the gap. I call it plugging the gap lah. So let me bring you a super simple example. Go to a food court. There's Chinese food. There's Indian food, Western, whatever food. But maybe there's no Malay food. So today, if I'm going to sell food, I will go there. I'll set up a Malay store selling Malay food, because surely there's demand, there are variety, but there's something that's always missing in the industry, but which I call plugging the gap. Because I think if there is a gap, there is a need to fill it. Meaning that it's just that it's not there, but it doesn't mean it's not necessary. It's not required by consumers of your products and stuff. So as we evolve, more gaps will appear lah. So find all these gaps and fill them, because I think these gaps will bring about opportunities that people might have not seen yet, or is still in development. So if you are able to identify these gaps, are they actually opportunities for your work in the time to come lah. Yeah. So since we are on trend, I just want to share one belief that I have on trend is, although we are talking about trends, but I believe that we should not blindly follow trends, because it's just like, let's say I'm a filmmaker today. COVID is now happening, right? A lot of people will be thinking, oh, let's make a film about COVID. So if 100 people is making a film about COVID, what makes your film about COVID special? So if you want to follow trend, you can do it years later. Let's say when COVID is over, everyone is tired of the topic already. Then you have a new perspective, you bring it up. That will become a trend. But if you are just blindly follow trend at this current moment, it won't become anything special. It will just become one of another 100 products. Yeah. So it's just like past few years when I was at film festival, they were heavily looking at AR and VR, virtual reality and augmented reality. So they were heavily so focused on these two things. But to be honest, these few years, I haven't really seen AR or VR take off in terms of cinema. Yeah. Yeah, even 3D died out actually. 3D was very popular 10 years ago, but 3D slowly died out. So these are things that I say why we don't follow trend, because others are doing it, because it might not take off, or it might take time to take off. So do things which you can feel that you can identify that there are potential trends in the future, which I call it which I bring it back to my point lah, which is plugging the gap. Yeah. So mainly two things. One is technology. Second is identify gaps and plug them in. Yeah.
So, as a writer and producer yourself, right? So, when you
Hmm.
actually identify these two trends in terms of technology and in terms of plugging the gap, are you actually, speaking in the presence of your role as a writer or as a producer, or do you think that actually it doesn't matter? It actually is applicable to all the creative in in this area.
I think is adaptable. It's possible that all the creatives can adapt to it, because technology is a up and coming thing. It's a constantly upgrading thing that we definitely will come into contact with. So it's definitely something that we can adapt to. And plugging the gap, I believe every industry there are things that are still missing. It's up to people to identify, which is why we have over the years, or Facebook become popular, because there wasn't a friend making app in the past. Yeah. Then Twitter, Instagram, all these pop up because they fill up what wasn't present there. So all these things actually plug the gaps, which I so called plug the gaps, because there wasn't there in the first place. Yeah. So I think every industry, every creatives have their own way of adapting to these 2 points that I mentioned. Yeah.
Mm, great.
Mm.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Ying Sheng. 5
Yeah.
minutes.
Thank you.
That's fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. So take care. So now we'll bring on the next speaker who will also share with us on the same topic. Let's see who is it.
Hi, hi there.
Hello. Hi,
Nice to
Ruiming.
see you.
Good to
Hi.
see you. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, no worries.
Right. So, well, you all might be familiar with Ruiming. So, Ruiming is a content creator and also the co-founder of the Woke Salaryman. So, he primarily helps Gen Y and Z make life or make better life and finance decisions with content. So, he believes that the next decade belongs to content marketing and storytelling, which I fully agree. Right, give you heads up that this is what we see as well at Creative at Works. Right. So, Ruiming, over to you to share with us what are some of the key trends that you see that will
Sure, I
affect your
think
creative works.
yeah. So I think what I've done is that I've tried to condense like what is most useful for creatives to know when they are trying to work this field for like the next 5 to 10 years, or even this year. No, just I mean I don't want to blow it up too big. Yeah, but anyways, I think the first important thing is like product knowledge, because I think nowadays there's internet, there's like a whole bunch of information out there. There's information overload. So whenever you talk about product, someone else has probably already covered it. So consumers are already smarter, and I think the traditional way of reaching out to consumers, right? That what we used to do in agencies, we'll write like silly puns and like visual tricks. For example, like if I'm talking about a bank account, I might say like, "Oh, this bank account is very interesting," but that will not demonstrate any knowledge that I had in the bank account. It just be me making a superficial pun of about your product. I mean, which isn't great for convincing people, because nowadays people do need to convince, because there's a lot of mistrust on the internet these days. So I think that's where long form content comes in. What long form content can do is that it can clarify doubts and build a case of why you should buy a product versus product A versus product B. Why you should buy product A instead, and then you can kind of do like trade-offs and stuff. But of course, this will mean that you need to actually know more about the product. So take time to understand the client's product, or even something that you're marketing, and tell people like very authentically, why you should buy a product, instead of just full on hard sell, behaving like your product is the only version of it in this universe. Like for example, if I sell like a Toyota Vios, I will have to acknowledge that other cars other than the Toyota Vios exists. And I think that's what a lot of traditional content doesn't do. So that's one. And actually, moving on to my next one, I think like that's actually one of the areas that I'm quite concerned about. A lot of younger creators in the market today, so they are great at making like short punchline and short jokes, but many of them don't actually understand what they are selling, and a lot of it is touch and go. So my suggestion would be to go more in depth when it comes to knowledge, and I'm not sure whether this is the right platform to say it, but I think when I was in the agency, there was quite a lot of like the perception that if you went in-house, you were a bit of like you didn't make it, so you went in-house. But I think as a creative who went in-house, yeah, I mean there is. I mean, from my circle, I mean there's yeah. So
Okay.
But when I went in-house into 99Co last year, I found like actually a large part of what agencies do can nowadays actually be outsourced by a very small and nimble team. So in the future, what could happen is that like just a small bunch of creatives, work on the clients' projects in-house, and when important or bigger projects come in, they can just sub in like people from the gig economy, freelancers. So because nowadays it's quite easy to get freelancers. So my advice is that not only must you gain technical skills. I think when I was first in the workforce in 2014, at the time I could, as a copywriter, I could do Adobe Premiere Pro, I could do like Photoshop, and that was like a big deal, during that time. I was considered like a hybrid. But I think nowadays all creatives need to be hybrid if we have to survive. And apart from those hybrid skills, you also need to know more technical knowledge that will actually help you sell your product better.
Right.
So yes. So I think there's also an argument that I mean the common argument is that if you go in-house, you limit your exposure to the world. So there's that fear that if you join, let's say 99Co, you only know about property. But I think honestly, that is on every creative responsibility to take charge of their own learning rather than just being
Yeah.
like pigeonholed into whatever company they're in.
That's right. That's right. No, I fully agree with you, especially on the hybrid, right? I think in the past, we always tend to want to specialize, right? So if you specialize, right, that means to say, your experience and expertise highly valued. So nowadays, we are looking for a hybrid. So in that sense, right, if let's say the freelancers want to focus on the hybrid, right? So what kind of hybrid would you recommend? Like, is it a writer who can also draw, or is it a marketer who can also produce video? What kind of hybrid do you think, right, in 2021 are the most highly sought after?
Yeah, sure. So I think video has always been there. So I think like writing and video will always be like one of the best ways to communicate. I think writing and illustrating. I think it apart from like a quite a niche group of people, and like it might not be as mainstream as video, because video is something that most companies can apply and use. But I think the thing about video is that there are so many people doing video. So to be really in the top 20% of video creators, you have to look good, you have to speak well, you have to present well, and of course you have to be a great writer. So competition there will definitely be a lot steeper. So maybe it's about carving your own specific niche also lah. But I will say, if you just want like mainstream, you just want to be like more normal, more mainstream, then you can just be do writing and video. I think that is sufficient enough to be a good communicator.
Great. Right. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Ruiming. Thank you.
But
Thanks
I
for the
got
5 minutes. Yeah. Right. Great. Thank you so much, Ruiming. I hope we didn't cut you unnecessarily. Hi, Belinda.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good to see you. Right. Thanks for joining us. Yeah.
Yep.
So, to our audience, right? So, Belinda is currently the director of marketing for T2 Table Tennis League, right? So, she has a diverse experience with more than 15 solid years of spearheading local and regional brand and integrated consumers marketing campaign for the media, technology, and sports sectors in Southeast Asia and Greater China. Right. So can't wait to hear from you. What are some of the trends that what are some of the key trends that you think will affect the creative in 2021? And of course, most importantly, maybe you can share with us what kind of creative do you hope to work with in 2021 so that our freelancers can also, showcase themselves.
Definitely. Well, I come from an events background. So last year, as we all know, virtual events suddenly, I would say pop out of out of sudden, but it started out very aggressively out of necessity, and they are definitely here to stay because of for obvious reasons, because of ROI, because of accessibility and whatnot. Now, when it comes to virtual events, everyone is doing it, but what is important, I think what is key right here right now is definitely how do we get creative and basically drive engagement through, whether it's great speakers, rich content, or even some fun for that matter. But of course, not losing the core content or even the messaging of the whole product itself. So, like what Ying Sheng has actually mentioned, AR is not new. It's definitely not new. But what we are trying to like now, suddenly everyone is like, oh, let's AR this sports, SAR that sports and whatnot. So is that a trend to actually do electrify the sports or gamify the sports? Definitely, right? To reach out to more. And I think that's a good opportunity for rich traditional sports like us, table tennis, right? To really reach out to even other new table tennis fans that's out there, right? So with that said, we also get into content of things that drives more positive impact, I would say. So that for this year, I think a lot of the color choice of our campaign is going to be very, very mood boosting. Like wherever you are, you feel that vibrant, happier, that everything is positive and energized, right? So that's something that we will be actually looking at. And whenever that anyone actually look at it, like, oh, right now it's a collectivity. And I'm actually addressing to everybody, try to address to everybody, and it's very neutral. And at the same time, give you that comfort zone that you are there, but you're at your own safe zone. So that's something that I think we will definitely be looking at for our creative for this year itself. And of course, when it comes to that, because we deal with a lot of multimedia, content as well. So when it comes to that, so graphically, that will be something that we'll be looking at. When it comes to music, I think what we are actually looking at, it's more, whether it's podcast or whether it's music background, something that basically promote diversity and inclusion, which in the end we want to basically find a track that represents a global, very modern feel to the content that we actually produce, so that it actually hits everyone in the heart. So that will be something that we'll be looking at. And of course, last but not least, definitely, virtual events tying to social media platforms that we already have a lot. But we also realize that we can't be having 5 or 10 social media that's driving our content. We want something that works. So we will actually focus on 1, 2 that really works, right? To convert, not just converting, converting interest, but also converting future like content consumption, or to a certain point, we also converting commerce. So in a way, it's not just about e-commerce anymore. It is also about personalization, personal commerce, where we want to create something that they know and they want, and we want to tell them that you want this and you want to buy this now, or you want to watch this now. So that's
Great.
what we got before. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Belinda, for sharing. So, because you mentioned, I think a few times as well on multimedias and things like that, right? Which seems to be
Mhm.
right at the core of what T2 is doing. So,
Yeah.
in that sense, right, when you look for freelancers, then how
Yeah.
do you actually ensure that they actually have the same, I would say, same look? Well, maybe not look, but embrace, what
Hmm.
T2 is all about, and then reflect it out, in their work, right? Like you mentioned keywords like
Yep.
inclusiveness, diversity and all this, right? So how do you actually then, look at a creative, right, at he or her work to see if they are compatible for you to work with in the first place?
I think, most of the freelancers, creative freelancers that we actually work with or we come across, right, they have huge or good portfolios to actually look at. So from that, it is like a blind date, right? So we'll be looking at their portfolio, pictures and whatnot, see what they like and stuff like that. So that's where we will actually, hand in hand, like, okay, well, let's try to do this. We'll have an open conversation and see how that conversation actually bounce back to us. So if it bounce back and we want to bounce back some more, I think that's a win for both.
Mm, right.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. Thanks, Belinda. Thanks for sharing. 5 minutes is up. That's fast,
Okay.
right?
Oh, shit.
Right. Right. So coming up next, let's see. I also actually not very sure who is coming up next. Oh, it's Yugene. Hi, Yugene.
Hi, Grace.
Hi.
Thanks.
Hi. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate that.
No,
Yeah.
no. So Eugene is actually a close partner of ours. We have been actually working with Eugene for a long time now. Actually, in fact, I don't know whether Eugene remember. You're actually the first freelancers that we worked with when Creative at Work first started.
Oh, dear no.
The small little logo design job. Okay,
Oh,
anyway,
okay.
maybe let me introduce Eugene more. So Eugene started his freelance and creative journey about 8 years ago. That was about the same time that Creative at Works started, and we know
Yeah.
him since then. Yeah. So
Yeah.
at that
So,
at that time, you're still in university, right?
yeah. That was still studying
Yeah,
in
still
NUS.
studying. Yeah. So, but today he actually runs a very successful design agency called Jin, which is a website design agency, and also the company called the Visual Team, right? Which is a graphic and animation agency that serve big brands like OCBC, Singlife, as well as Philips Capital. Right. So, yeah, Eugene, take it away. The 5 minutes. Share with us what are some of the key trends that will drive your creative works of your agency in 2021.
Okay. Today I will share more about from not just from the creative side, also from the business side, which because of COVID, it kills a significant amount of the trends that used to have, but also sparks a new series of trends. So as a designer and also speaking from a business owner point of view, right? I think these few trends could be both exciting and also both worrying for me. The first trend is definitely globalization, which this is not something new, but it has started since the birth of internet, which has brought the whole world closer together. But as because as a local agency, right, and also as a freelancer, right, one of the most significant benefit that we have is which is our locality, which is we are based in Singapore, and that's why that a lot of clients, like especially companies, they like to meet these like meet people like us or agency like us locally, and that's used to be one of our biggest benefit. But after COVID has come, like, and everyone started to use Zoom, right, then this whole working has become a habit. And because of that big need is that I need to meet someone locally, and I wish that this person is have the same time zone with me. But then this whole need has become less and less, and I think companies nowadays, many that I've met and experienced from, right, they don't really need like a company or to be in Singapore anymore. And this has become a trend, and more people and realize that, hey, I don't really need agency to be in Singapore. So then as a local agency, this used to be one of the strongest benefit. But then right now, and especially as a Singapore company, we have so much higher cost than most country in Asia. That's a very challenging thing for us, and for us as freelancer, creative, and local agency to relook at and see how we could improve. Yeah, that's why my job is definitely for these upcoming years is to resolve this challenge and continue to improve our standard, yet to try to keep it at the same cost and resources. And the most important thing is, at the end of the day, when it comes to business, is how to become competitive in terms of cost, quality, and speed. So that's the first trend, is about globalization. The second trend that I saw recently was this trend called drop servicing or productization, which, if you are a graphic design, yeah, in the graphic design space, copywriting, content, or SEO, right, you may have heard of this term, which is all about trying to productize the services, which to make the process and the process and also the cost a lot faster and a lot cheaper. It used to be, if you may heard of Fiverr and used Fiverr before, right? You can see that all the services are like productized. However, recently, in just the past 2 years, this has become a super big trend. It has not. I don't think it has really come to Singapore yet, but in US and in Europe, right? A lot of agencies have transitioned themselves to such company, such as like providing unlimited graphic design, content / SEO maintenance, video editing services for X amount of dollars, and helping you to build websites in a certain days. So this company has, if you are in this space of doing like not so creative work, right? This company have like eaten up that pie of that piece of pie in the market already, and their service are so much better, so much standardized, and a lot more affordable with even faster turnaround. And as a agency, right, it's either we go very high or we go like very low, like to offer such repeatable services that these like clients are looking for. And this is something that is also pretty worrying for us to do. Yeah. The last trend, I think, is something to do with short video content. Is really contents that have happening on like platform like TikTok and Xiaohongshu. These are the new trend that I spoke out, that this just happened this 2 year where TikTok become a thing now. And I think for creatives like us, we do have to prepare for creating content on this platform. And I think there will be a lot more opportunities coming years where bigger brands and companies want to get on top of this. Yeah, these
So
are maybe the few things.
yeah, I mean, thank you so much. I think, for the longest period of time, even, with or without COVID, right, productizing creative services is probably one of the most hardest thing or difficult things to do, right? To begin with, as creative, we always, are very proud of our skills. We want to actually make every piece of our artwork unique, right? So how then we can actually productize our services is really a challenge to a lot. So in that sense, right, all these kind of key trends, how does Jin design, right? How will it affect your, say, hiring plan, in the next year, right? In terms of, ensuring that you actually, are can meet those upcoming trends.
I see. We are actually breaking down into two parts right now. When hiring people in Singapore, we mainly hire the project managers, sales, and key leaders. When it comes to more creative side, like just looking for a specific kind of skills, right? We are already right now opening to global, like Malaysia, Philippines, Indonesia to join us, so that we could always keep our costs more competitive. Yeah, and so that we can provide the services at that kind of rate. Mm.
Right. Great. Thank you so much, Eugene. Thanks for
No problem.
sharing with us in the last 5 minutes. So you take care. I see you again. Right. So upcoming next. Hi. So who do we have? It's a bit dark. Hello.
Hello, this is
Hi. Are you
me.
in
Is it my turn?
yes? Yes, it's you already. Thanks so much for joining us. Are you in a studio or something?
I am
Can
in
you
the
have
studio. Hi, Jace. Long time no
hi,
speak.
hi Q. Yeah, welcome back as well.
Thank you.
Right.
Yes.
Hey,
Hmm.
okay, so let me just introduce you to our audience, right? So we also start working with Q quite closely after the digital campaign stories. So for those who have not watched, right, the short film called Uncle Goose Wait for a Phone Call, right? Please go and watch it after this, right? And that film, the writer is Q, right? So you see the man here himself. Right. So Q is actually a writer director who, well, I would say yes, very talented, right? So, of course, the latest short film, Uncle Goose Waits for a Phone Call, right, has been selected in C Shots, right, in a number of the different film festivals around the world, and he is currently working on his first feature film, right? Is that right? Your first feature film, right? Great. Thank you so much, Q. So now the next 5 minutes is for you. Share with us what are some of the key trends that will drive your creative works in the coming years.
Okay. Yeah. Well. Thank you so much for saying the word talented because, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, this is how you fish for compliment. You tell Jace, please say
Yeah.
talented.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, okay. So, last a few months ago in 2020, I cold contacted some filmmakers, which I really wanted some advice from. I didn't know them. They are Golden Horse winning, Oscar winning. I in the past I would just think, nah, they're not going to reply me. Nah, who am I to make such a contact? But I actually got it. They were very nice and they were very helpful. I think they were already helpful, but I think here is my first trend that we should look out for 2021. Everybody is really used to teleconferencing, online contact, communication, and I think people are way more used to it and eager. They are not afraid of online communication anymore. So I think I'm gonna test this theory out down the year to see how I can reach out and network with more people, both um, of a higher profile than myself or people who are also learning or students. I think that's something. I think this teleconferencing trend is making it very, very possible. Yes. And the second trend that I like to talk about is the death of cinema. This is a
Really?
big
You
one.
really think so?
I don't know so, but I don't know. I feel like the coffin lid might be starting to close. The nail that is gonna close the coffin might just be coming. Order online already. Not sure when they're gonna hammer it in. There's just been it's we can observe the last year, especially after the pandemic. A lot of cinemas are closing down around the world because of lockdown. Things are not people are not doing well. Businesses are not doing well. Cinemas have to do a lot of very crazy things just to stay in business. Meanwhile, a lot of people are moving towards online consumption, Netflix and things like that. So I don't know. This is a trend that is very pertinent to filmmakers. As much as I have an aversion to series format, episodic format, I don't think that's the best way to tell stories personally. we do have to now think of episodic format and possible co-productions just to expand our market, because Singapore's market is already quite small, and with the pandemic and cinemas reducing the number of seats and things like that, budget being cut, we do have to think very seriously about whether putting films in theaters is viable as a source of income. So I think either we start thinking about that, or if you're a soldier like me, you want to keep trying out making cinematic films and putting films in the cinema, you might want to think about how to not just have the commercial consideration, but also I would say really put your head on the line and make very honest films that would touch people, films that are just more cinematic. And my definition of that is where someone really pour the heart and soul out to tell a story. It doesn't have to be flashy, but it should be sincere and heartfelt. Then maybe we have a chance to stand out in the limited market. How much time do I have left, Jace?
Actually, you can start to wrap up. Do you have more trends for us?
No. I don't.
Right.
But if I can wrap up, let me do an advertisement.
Yeah.
Talking about cinema, there's a very good Singaporean film in the cinemas right now called Andre and His Olive Tree by Josiah Ng. I urge everybody to go and watch. And my series is also out on Vitsy. 1,000 Cups to Midnight. Episodic format, my first.
Okay, your time is out. We will charge you sponsorship fee, okay?
Okay. Invoice me, thank you.
Right, thank you. Thanks, Q. Okay, I catch up with you again. Yeah. So let's see who's coming up next. Hi, Adeline. Hey, I think you're on mute.
Hi.
Yeah. Great.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining. I'm so sorry to take you out of your busy schedule. I know you must be very busy right now because Adeline has some great product to share with us. It's coming up soon. Let me just introduce you to our audience first, all right? So Adeline is actually an insights-driven marketer, right? So with more than 20 years of integrated marketing experience across, right, the different sectors, including your telcos, your financial services, as well as consumers products, right? So, I think Adeline, strive very well in terms of helping organizations to drive their brand and revenue growth through marketing innovations, right? So Adeline, the next 5 minutes is yours.
Thank you, JC, for inviting me for this lunchtime talk. I come from the client side. I noticed that the earlier speakers were mainly from the agency or production or freelancing community. So I will talk about mainly the trends at the brand level, at the individual level, and how COVID-19 has affected the way we will reach out to consumers. So I wouldn't really call it key trends. I see that the trends have been evolving over the last few years. Just COVID-19 has made it more pronounced. Obviously, you have heard that COVID-19 has actually changed consumers' behavior versus instead of watching in cinema, they go to Netflix. They changed attitudes towards life, and work has also changed, right? People are becoming more cognizant about their health and beginning to seek what's their purpose. So at the brand level, consumers are now looking to brands who demonstrate and communicate with empathy. Right, I think that will connect a lot with the consumers, brands that has a higher purpose and who are authentic and not just talking down to consumers, and brands that communicate with a sense of humor as well and not take things too seriously. At the individual level, I guess with technology, people have come to expect personalization, hyper-personalization, whether it is in terms of messaging, in terms of retargeting to consumers, and not just about media, right, but the way we communicate to customers as well. It's important to understand what problems customers are really having. Instead of communicating product features, we need to understand how are we solving customers' pain points, right? A very good concept that is part of design thinking is jobs to be done. People buy drills not because they need a drill, but because they need a drill hole. Right, I think you probably have heard some of these before. So focusing on customers' needs rather than product features is the way that's going to drive the creative trends. And I would think, say, in terms of brands, Apple really does it very well. If you remember a couple of years ago, there was when they launched the iPod, they have Creative Nomad, right? Creative Nomad actually has a better product because they talk about their features, how many megabyte they can, how many songs they can hold and all that. They talk about features. But when Apple came out with the campaign, they talk about putting 1,000 songs in the pocket, right? And it is really what customers are looking for, the songs that they can take away anywhere they go, right? The mobility. So being able to communicate consumer benefits instead of product features is important. And reaching out to consumers, I would say that the trend is continues from the previous years. Storytelling, videos and podcasts are coming up because there's just so many content. Consumers are overloaded with content, and the consumer's attention span is also getting shorter. So therefore, to get customers' attention, you need to then be more personalized in communicating to the customers. These are my thoughts.
So, yeah, thank you so much, Adeline, for sharing. So, in terms of marketing innovations, what are some of the must-learn technology tool that is out there that you feel that a creative need to know?
You're talking about marketing technology tools?
Yeah, marketing technology tool or any interesting tool that you come across and you think that in 2021 that will be something that a lot of the brands will actually get on board.
Yeah, talking about personalizations, right? Some of the tech tools that enable users to get more personalized information would be tools like mobile attribution platforms like Adjust, Apps Flyer. For those who are in the a client or technology space, we're familiar with these actually helps the marketers attributes campaigns results from different campaign source. So it allows us to track users' behavior, which campaign is more effective. And tools such as Amplitude, for example, which is an in-app behavior analytics tool. Understanding how consumers are using the app, for example, will actually provide insights on how users would like to, where they are in terms of their journey, allowing marketers to actually tailor personalized messages to them. And of course, the very key concept is gamification, right? How do we engage customers through games as well?
So when you actually hire a creative, right, your first consideration, would it be like, oh, have you ever used any of this marketing tool before? Or actually it is more on their storytelling skill set, not so much on the tool that they know?
I think tools can be picked up. The ability to tell stories are skills that they have to hone over the years of experience, right? I would prioritize storytelling ability over technology tools. Essentially, for marketers, there are two key categories: people who are in the very creative space or people who are more analytical space. You hardly get people who are very strong in storytelling and still be very strong in martech. It's a very, very rare breed.
Right. So if the freelancers can think along this line, that would means that they will have a bright 2021 or even many years to come, right? In terms
I
of
think,
combining creative and technology.
yes, I think the ability to tell stories, and the stories comes from insights, understanding the consumer's pain points, to tell stories that relates to them. I think that's a very, very strong skills to have.
Great. Thank you so much, Adeline. Thank you.
Thank
The 5
you.
minutes is up. Thanks for sharing.
Thank
I catch
you.
up with you again. Take care. Bye. Okay, coming up next, we have our next speaker. Let's see. Oh, Anne. Hello, Anne-Laure. How are you?
Hi, I'm very good. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining. I know that we have actually caught you in your busiest time as well. So let me just quickly share with our audience about Anne-Laure. So we know Anne-Laure way back, and recently we have worked on a project together called Striving Singapore. So for those of you who have not heard about Striving Singapore, maybe at the end, please go on to www.strivingsingapore.com to check it out. It's actually a virtual gallery which Anne-Laure has painfully put together the 10 brilliant local local artists and showcase their work right on that virtual gallery. So as a former management consultant, Anne-Laure is actually an environmental engineer by training. But today, she is actually an artist and run her own creative studio, and it's called the ARH Studios. Right. So the next 5 minutes is yours, Anne-Laure. So please share with us, what are some of the key trends that would drive your creative works in 2021.
Thank you, Jace, and hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. So I guess it was very interesting for me when Jace, you asked me this question because there is different layers that I can talk about. So maybe I'm going to start with perhaps something that I can share as an artist and what I would like to tell to other artists, and then building up about like more the consulting aspect about how to build creative team and what is the impact of the creative industry in the rest of the business world, I would say. So the first thing, and I'm very sure I've heard some of the other speakers talking about technology. I'm not going to enter into like the type of technology, but just a little story. Like when I started, like the first illustration contract, I had to learn by myself Photoshop with tutorial, and honestly, I cried. Today, you have like Fresco, or you have like Procreate software that is very easy to access. It doesn't mean that everybody wants to be an artist or can be an artist, because there is more to learn than just drawing. But it means like everybody can start to understand a bit more about the industry. So it's a lot of democratization, and this also allows a lot more collaboration. For example, for one of my recent projects, we had to do a collaboration with an artist during the pandemic. And because of this technology, we could collaborate. And for me, it's very important because this is some of my value is to always learning, always collaborate. And I can see that growing at the moment. One thing that I can see also as a trend, and it's amazing, is like, I don't know about you guys, but I have some of my parents who were very worried about me, and they were at the image of the starving artist. Today, the gaming industry is booming. I mean, all the millennials will have a Netflix account. The Gen Z, they have a gaming console, and then the data backing that, so it's growing. And a lot of artist friends, they are going into the gaming industry. So all they are graphic designer, which is not the same as artists, but all they are like artists, which means like this, you cannot make a career. This is like, forget it. And I can see this type of like creating beautiful content, whether it's through storytelling, whether it's through visual, is gonna grow. One thing that I believe as well is the mindset of an artist. I mean, an artist, we're supposed to, I feel, always creating things that we don't exactly know how to do. And I feel in the corporate world, we have an expertise and we have to do something like this and like that. And it's sometimes a bit more challenging to discover and to accept to do something with a mindset of the beginners. And I feel creatively has that. So the lot of skills and mindset I feel we could bring in the rest of the business world. And I feel like, for example, with marketing, we can see the junction very easily. But I feel that more artists and creative could go in all the type of industry, not just marketing. We can see in design thinking, for example, or the design of new products and services, how the more creative artistic mindset is interesting. Perhaps, Jason, this I think you know it. One of the things that I feel the difference between an artist and somebody just creating marketing content is really the meaning. And for me, I mean, when I see Greta, online, I'm like, hey, everybody is starting to be very, not everybody, but more available about the idea about sustainability. And for me, as an artist, this is something I want to push. And I feel whether it is technology or the type of partnership, or because people consume more content, I think this is also a trend that I feel will be quite strong in creativity, or at least I hope it will be. The last thing I'd like to share is again about technology, but not the final as an ending, but more as a tool. I just designed a program for 1,000 people over 2 continents, which for me was like, even for us, I mean, it were several people, it was like, wow. But it is actually possible to make 1,000 people learn and co-create through like online software. And for me, like 5 years ago was just impossible. And today is like, yeah, it is possible. So I think really building maybe not global creativity, but having like team more creative, even if they are not artists, even if you didn't hire them to be creative, it's really possible to bring people up to speed. Everybody now can learn like YouTube. I'm not saying you're going to be the future YouTuber, but it's really possible to grow your skills. And I feel people are more receptive to grow the skills and to be more creative, even in the business world.
Great. Thank you so much, Anne-Laure. Thank you for your time. I know that you're rushing off already, right? Thanks a lot for joining, right? But key thing is really mindset, right? Thanks, Anne-Laure.
Thank you for having me. Bye, Jay. Bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye. Great. So coming up
Hey,
next. Hey, hello. So sorry to
hi.
keep you waiting for so long. Great. So yeah, so Sean is a regular partner that we have always been working with, right? And we are actually going to do some interesting collaboration
Mm-hmm.
shortly, which we will announce. Well, today you're on jacket. Today you're in jacket. So well dressed. Okay,
Only for
right.
you, Jace.
Oh wow, and for our audiences, right? So yeah, let me just introduce Sean, and then he can take away 5 minutes to share with us more. So Sean is actually a freelance. For those who don't know him yet, right? So you probably have seen him in some of our in our online workshops, right? So he is actually currently a freelance director, scriptwriter, producer for television show, corporate videos, and branded content. And he has been doing this for a living for like more than a decade, right? Some of y'all know him maybe also because he's a media lecturer at some of the local tertiary institutions.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of his passion for creative or for making TV work, right? He's also very knowledgeable into finance as well. So that is something that I'll leave
I
it
wish.
to
I
share.
wish.
Right. So Sean, for the next 5 minutes, please take it away and share with us. So what are some of the key trends, right, that you have noticed
I
or
get. I
that
mean,
you noticed? Mm.
yes. I mean, since you mentioned finance, I think I'll start off with that. I think the trend that we're going to be seeing, 2021 onwards, is that I think what we've learned from the meet. Give me 1 second. I got to mute this. Okay, I think we will be seeing a lot of money flowing back into the media industry in general because I think this pandemic kind of accelerated what everybody knew. What everybody knew was that traditional media, as we knew it, be it broadcasting or print media, publishing, etc., is well, cinema, as one of the earlier responses, one of the earlier responses said, was kind of like got into quite a bit of trouble, especially during the pandemic. I think that it was always going to be in trouble. It was just at a quicker rate because of circumstances. What's going to happen now? I think because everyone has seen how great, how effective, and how accessible these technologies are, be it through streaming, virtual events, and so on. What's going to happen is that people are begin to see the value of that, and I think all that money that has financially what we are seeing split between print and traditional broadcasting revenues and digital, just consolidate all into digital revenue. So while there may be situations whereby some of the older, more traditional media as you know it may suffer in the revenue sense, it's going to flow into digital, and then it's going to go one circle, and I think then the whole media industry will be okay in the end if you are positioned well enough to be there on the uptick. So there is still some upside, I think. There right now it may seem 50-50. I think there's more upside coming in financially towards digital content creation spaces, virtual events, and so on. Maybe more downside to come for the more as you know it, not just because they are old school, but I think because everyone has kind of like got used to living this way. And I don't think people are going to be rushing out tomorrow to go to the cinema and watch a movie again, even if the vaccine comes, because it's not going to be a Hail Mary for one. I mean it's not going to happen tomorrow just because or everyone's going to flock back into the cinemas just because they're all vaccinated. So I mean, but having said that, I've also noticed in what has happened because everyone has been staying at home, is that there's a lot of old media that we've seen has come forward again and become trendy. For example, I think publishing books, for example, seems to be on a global having upside again because people are staying at home and thinking, oh yeah, I can read this 900 pages, never mind, I got a lot of time now, I'm staying at home. So it's a matter of, I think, to summarize this, I would just say it's about being in a pulse of society and being adaptable to the changing trends and being adaptable to really what adaptable to what really is in a market, because I think that as media producers, right, no matter what we are doing and no matter what platform we are using, I think what's important is that we need to know why we are doing it, who is it for, and how we're going to use it. So in that sense, for me personally, what would drive my creative work? I've always been I wouldn't say I'm a very creative person. If nothing else, I'm a very practical, creative person. Right? And personally also, I am the kind of person who likes the process of making the sandwich, but I don't like to eat my own sandwich. In the sense that I don't watch my shows. I love making it, but I don't watch my shows. I mean, I've seen enough of it. So so that's where personally I'll be going. I think I'll be making new sandwiches. In that sense, I'll be making one with you in later on in the year. Will I make old ones again? Probably not. I mean, I don't see myself doing that this year, not because of lack of interest, but I just think that that's generally where we are changing trends towards, to more of the digital side. So
Yeah. So it's interesting that you mentioned, right, about putting yourself at the pulse, right, of the society. So how do you do that? How do you put yourself in the pulse of the society?
I think first you need to understand why you're doing it, and who is it for, and how you're doing it. So the old ways are not gonna to work for new ways. Essentially, I know the old ways may have worked. I'm sure they have had whatever success they've had. It's there for a reason. But just because it was successful in the old ways, it doesn't mean it's going to transcend successfully into the new ways. So I feel that it's important to understand the differences between what you used to do and what you are hoping to do. Be accepting of the differences. That applies all across, be it the producer or the audience. And of course, ultimately, I think it's most importantly is to have fun. I mean, we haven't had a lot of fun last year, haven't we? It's been quite depressing and horrific, isn't it? The pandemic and unprecedented. I've heard that word so many times, but yeah, so it hasn't been very, very fun. So I think ultimately that is, if nothing else, just go and have some fun. And in 2021, it's not. This is going to be hopefully I get to see you soon, but this is going to be probably the new normal going forward for a while, and we just have to live with it and make the best out of it and have the most fun we can out of it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sean.
So tune into Uncool. That's what we're doing. I said always new methods. Always more for new methods. So I'm going to do the most uncool show possible. Yeah, and I will tell you more about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So audiences do follow us on our Facebook and all this, and you'll be able to see the project that we are going to work on next together with Sean. Right? Thank you so much,
uncool,
Sean.
really. You'll be so uncool when you watch it. You become cool. I'm making being uncool cool. It's like something so bad that it's actually good. Like some of those like showgirls kind of cult movies or something. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Sean. Thank you.
All
have
right,
a good day. See you again. Bye. Right. So thank you, Sean. So coming up next. Hi, Lionel. Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
having
so
me.
much. No, not at all. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for the wait. Right. So just let me introduce yourself for those who haven't for those who doesn't know Lionel, right? So Lionel is actually a specialist in immersive technology such as AR, VR. And he
I'm not here. This is virtual.
He currently run immersively, right, as a creative technologist, right. So I think just now if you had said with us earlier, so you probably heard some of the speakers have also shared about emerging technologies, how important it is driving some of the key trends, right. Of the creative works in 2021. So maybe it will be very interesting. I would love to hear from you, right? What are your thoughts on this, right? So what are some of the key trends that you think will drive the creative works in 2021?
Okay. I do have a lot to share, but I think unfortunately I'm not able to gush them out as the speed that Sean did. So I'm probably going to slow down a little bit. I feel very upbeat now after hearing him for the last 5 minutes. But I have a few points that maybe I can cover. The first one is the AR VR space, like cinema, like film, is also being disrupted. I think with VR, for example, that uses headsets. The supply hasn't been as promising as many people wanted. the source is still going to be from 1-2 companies and not like handphones where it's from a wide number of companies. So I think in the VR space, it's still tricky because even 4 years ago, people said this is going to be up and coming. It's still going to be hard to find supply, and also people justifying why they're paying money for one use device, especially for VR headsets. But on the other hand, I think, so VR will still continue to be niche for some time. I think AR is flourishing now because of the use of mobile phones and devices like tablets and all that. So we are starting to see a lot of people, even in the arts community, actually dabbling and trying out AR. And that's a great news for them because it's easy to understand, it's easy for people to use. And most Singaporeans have phones that are no older than 3 years old. So all the new models can actually allow them to experience AR quite easily. So I think that's one good thing that has come up between the balance of both AR and VR. But having said that, in the US specifically, we see a lot of people actually buying VR and staying at home and playing VR games. So it's not as widespread as outside of US because the shipping for these headsets are usually within US. But again, the trend is not so balanced internationally. In the development side of things that we do, we are seeing some layered innovations. So like we recently won a grant that looks at AR, but something that hasn't been done before, which is fragmenting different 3D models to put together on demand. So we have to, look at these different layers and different tech to see how they can combine. Which brings me to the next point. The next point is really, people are really starting to look at very, very niche focused innovations which pertain to their specific needs. It's no longer like, I guess, video. They want video with analytics, with text, with a lot of different components that comes into it. Essentially innovating different layers of the mediums and technologies even further. So one of the other things that we're doing is, for example, virtual worlds with machine learning and AI. So something that was new to us as well, and we have to embark on this. So really looking at both layered innovations and also lateral innovations, how to bring other tech into our current space. The second thing I think, which is probably repeated among all the other speakers as well, is we seem to now need to understand that we need to have a digital presence in everything we do. So it's not good enough that you have a Jurong Bird Park and then a website that tells you about it, but you probably need a Jurong Bird Park online that you can actually experience online in a different way, but still experience rather than for information. So I think the awakening here is that you start to see people understanding that the web presence or the online presence is no longer a complementary attachment. Is not information that tells you about what you experience when you go to this physical attraction. It's really your backup plan to activate it and find a business model there that people can pay should another pandemic hit, and you can drive people online to still be able to find a business model there. I think e-commerce is easy to understand for this because we've been buying things online, but attractions and experiences is very tough. And things like, Jurong Bird Park, Singapore Zoo, where the in-person experience is almost like 99% and the website is really information. We're starting to see these attractions paying emphasis and focus on the fact that they need to have some kind of a model of monetizing online the business model. So for those of us who don't have an online presence, and if you do only for information, then it's really time to re-look at some of these things. And of course, with that comes like virtualizing possibly everything. So we got a lot of requests to virtualize events, and we still do. They are like virtualize our showroom, virtualize our events, and then add Zoom, add e-commerce, add this, add that. So there's a lot of requests to sort of virtualize everything possible. But of course, with the cost, so what is the trade-off, right? So that's something that, we are also finding the incoming requests. And I don't think it's going to stop post-COVID because going back to the previous point, they know that once they have it up, I'll be able to have both physical and the virtual or online presence to add on to my next point, which is business model. So the business model, traditionally for what we do, like for example, a bird park that sells tickets, will now, be able to think like, how do I sell online, tickets in some form. And traditionally, for even products that you can't really buy online, like for example, carpeting or even painting, how do you convert that to a digital e-commerce sort of product? So the new business model really comes up and forces business to, I guess, look at different ways of finding how to monetize their current business model. And I think this applies not just to our business, because we have been caught I think over the past 1 year, like many, that if the clients don't come to us, we can't service them anymore. So we are really, putting resources into online business models where you can actually click to subscribe or to start paying for something, and it's delivered to them very much like a software. So I think those are sort of my wrapped up for what I wanted to add. And of course, one of the things that we have got from my last point of new business model is actually web AR. So using web browsers in your mobile phone to deploy AR. Never had we had such a spate of different web AR campaigns. In COVID, we had 4. Previous years, we had none. So I think with web and mobile, a lot of people are starting to understand it, and it's really one of those new business models that has emerged for us.
Great. Thank you so much, Lionel. That's a lot for a creative to absorb. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, so we'll
Okay,
catch up for coffee
that was
soon,
fine.
okay? Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thank you. So,
okay.
yeah, bye. So coming up next, right, we have our last speaker to wrap up the sessions. And who is the best speaker to wrap up the session other than, from CreativesAtWork? So we got Fanny, who is the chief worker from CreativesAtWork, to kind of also share with us, right, what are some of the key trends that will be driving the creative works in 2021. So let me just quickly introduce Fanny for those of you if you don't know her, right? So in the last 8 years, right, Fanny Rowe has primarily been helping our clients to build out their creative resources and project manage the rollout of almost all the projects initiated for CreativesAtWork, from conceptualization all the way to delivery. So she worked very closely both with our freelancers as our clients, and to date, she actually manages, more than, I would say, over the last 8 years, more than 9 million worth of project across the different platforms. Right. Okay. So Fanny, take it away.
So one key business trend that has been supercharged last year that I see is going to explode is speed, the need for speed. So 15 years ago, the production of any kind of media content belongs to those who have the budget. But now media content is almost a must-have for all businesses. And because of that, the need and the speed to create content goes from months in the past to now days. So our clients no longer have the time to wait 3 to 4 weeks for a content. So we are seeing more and more clients who need videos done in days. But is that possible? Of course it is. So as a creative freelancer, we know that you may face the perennial fight between craft and commercial. So should you devote yourself to craft or accept minor commercial projects? I would say neither, but the time now is really to transform yourself to be a communicator. So any form of media content requires communication. So because of the need for speed right now, you need to churn out media content as fast, as possible. So your skills should be geared towards how best it is to communicate the information to the audience. So for your own work, you use templates. You subscribe to Motion Area, Graphic Reaver, Canva, any library that can allow you to work faster. But what will be your value add, you may ask? So your value add is how you adapt and tweak these templates to communicate the client's objectives to the audience. And because of the speed of the content turnaround, the budget assigned is, of course, also lower. So we have lots of smaller, faster projects, compared to a few key projects in the last few years. So are you frowning right now? So don't be, because at the end of the day, projects get moved faster, but it doesn't mean your revenue will also go lower. So as freelancers out there, embrace small projects, move fast, get tools to help you to move faster. So every project, no matter how small, can be a learning experience, or it can actually be a stepping stone to the next project. So bring something different to each project, and you will not just survive, but you will thrive in 2021. Less than 5 minutes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Fanny. Thanks for sharing. Right. Okay, so Fanny is actually our last speaker. So thank you so much for joining us in the last 1 hour. So we have come to the end of our sessions. So I hope you have gotten some insights from our guests. And the sharing is actually useful for you to map out I would say, your next path ahead. Right? I certainly hope those discussions will actually help to spark off some thoughts, right, for you as well as for your freelance career, right? Thank you once again to our 10 guests, right, for their candid sharing. Do join us for our next lunchtime sessions. We are thinking of having it once every quarter. So if you'd like to get in touch with us, do follow us on our Facebook, Instagram, or even LinkedIn. We also have podcast resources for freelancers called the Freelance Creative Exchange. It's available on YouTube and all podcast platforms, from your iTunes to your Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitchers, etc. Do like us and subscribe to our channels. If you are new to freelancing, do also check out our first published book, The Business of Freelancing, which is available at Books Kinokuniya as well as Amazon. So with this, I wish you all the best, and I hope to see you at the next Creative at Work's lunchtime sessions. Take care, stay safe, and I see you again. Bye.